This session is called Why Leaders Fail, a guide to making difficult decisions. I'm Don Christian. This is Christy Kirk with me, and this is Friday, February 18th, 8:30 a.m. in room 4. So, for me, we should sit probably. It's early. I always interested in why people come to certain sessions. If it's something's going on that resonates with this topic, if it's because nothing else looked interesting, you knew Christy and I were leading this session, you just wanted to see us again, whatever it is. But you come with some sort of thinking to go, I'd want to learn X. I know I attended one of these sessions yesterday, and I knew that I needed to hear something that I could take away with me to do that. So this is talking about making tough decisions. So Christy, let's talk about a couple of decisions we've made in the last couple of years. As you think about a tough decision that we've done at Concordia University, Texas, where we have a staff of about 200 faculty and staff, 2,000 students right in Austin, Texas, part of the Concordia University system, all those complexities that go with that. What do you think is one of the biggest decisions we've had to make?
When I think about difficult decisions, I kind of put them in a couple of categories. First of all, personnel. That's always going to be hard decisions in all the different levels, right? We're organizations that care deeply about people. We form relationships with people, and yet sometimes we have to make hard decisions around their futures, the futures of the institution. So that's always hard. The other ones that come to mind for me around finances and really what we say yes to and therefore what we say no to, and so trying to be very intentional. And the third category that I would put that in is around what I would say sort of organizational direction. When we're making a decision that says, this is who we want to be, and that resonates with a lot of people and then sometimes not with others. And so you're kind of living in that space of, are people going to agree with this? Is it right? What if it's the wrong organizational direction? Do I put all my chips in that basket, so to speak? And so those are the three categories that come to mind.
It's really how interesting those go back and forth. So I was thinking of a couple stories to share, and we actually were sharing one right over here. This last year, I had to ask what I would consider one of my best friends to leave the organization, to sit in that chair across from him and say, it's time to move on. And you want to say all kinds of things about that, but to protect the organization, it was like a 5-minute conversation, and we haven't talked since. A little bit after that, but it was a decision about personnel. It was a decision about finance, and in many ways, it was the organizational decision because the team had lost trust in him too. And we're going to talk a little bit later about you knowing deeply what's so important to you, that those difficult decisions actually become easy sometimes.
I also let go one of my best friends. We're still best friends, though. It's been 5 or 6 years. So sometimes that works out well for her and for me, but it was certainly hard in the moment.
I think, too, I like how you put that into personnel decisions, financial decisions, strategic, organizational decisions. But let's talk a little bit about what we mean by the term difficult decision. I'm of the opinion if you're making more than 1 or 2 of those a year, they're really not difficult. I saw everybody kind of go, oh. Yes. So, Christy, how do you define difficult decisions?
Yeah, thinking about those 3 categories, ones that have broader impact. Certainly there are personnel decisions that, yes, it obviously affects the personnel involved, but maybe for whatever reason they're less broadly engaged in the institution. But it's the ones who are really deeply embedded into the culture of the institution, and yet it's still the right personnel decision. Those get really, really challenging and walking through.
Because to me, that affects culture.
It does.
Deeply. Think about when you make a decision, be it financial, be it strategic, be it personnel, the impact on the culture that you've been creating or that you want to have happen. So much time we've spent when we've had to make those difficult decisions thinking about what's the next step we have to do. We're going to talk about that a little bit later too, in order to keep the culture going. The other one we think about is what is the impact it will have on the reputation. There have been some difficult decisions where we go, what will others say about this? Internally and externally. You know, when we think of our constituents, we think of students who are probably the least affected oftentimes. Our students are pretty far away from many of these decisions, but it's people who have been around a long time, donors, churches in the Texas district that support us, faculty and staff that, again, have been embedded in that a long, long time. Anything else come to mind?
And then students get involved sometimes.
Well, that's true.
Because they think they know the situation, and that's another challenge.
That's a really interesting piece. You know, think of the people that these difficult decisions impact. You've really got to say, how much does it really impact? And think deeply. One of the things that we have done as we've gone through difficult decisions is bring in experts from outside, HR experts. I remember that first time when we did not have a strong HR department early on, we brought in HR experts. We bring in lawyers pretty much every time. We bring in PR people from the community to come and work with us to think about what does that sound like over time. I think the other thing is reputational, culture, finance. If it's the wrong decision, have we done any of that? Have we made any wrong decisions? The answer
Stay
to that
tuned.
is yes. But it's one of the things that I will often say and we'll talk about is, and this is why difficult, if you're making more than one or two a year, they're probably not the